My name is Anna Pileggi, and the PAD has taught me to be better.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the PAD podcast. My name is Rob Morgan. As you know, I teach design at Washington University in St. Louis, and I have a very, very special episode today for you all, for generations of students that have passed through the halls at WashU. My very special guest today is Anna Pileggi. Anna Pileggi has been at WashU for 35 years. It is astounding, as I like to say on the podcast episode, as you'll hear, there's been a great butterfly effect. Her influence really spans the entire globe, from many, many alumni who think very fondly of her classes here and who credit her with so many things, no matter what their discipline, no matter what their career, or no matter where they ended up in the world doing whatever they do. Anna has been an influence. And so it gives me great pleasure, and I'm quite humbled to bring you this episode featuring the great Annamaria Pileggi. Enjoy. All right, my guest today on the PAD podcast is my dear friend, colleague, teacher, beloved professor at Washington University, Annamaria Pileggi. Anna Pileggi, thank you so much for being on the PAD podcast. I am delighted to chat with you today.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, I have been here 15 years, and that's only a fraction of the time that you've been at WashU. And I believe I've told you in hallways, I've told you in person, I've told you via email. How much are you paying previous guests? And I've done about 20 podcasts. How much are you paying them to mention your name? Because
So much money.
it's
So
so
much
much money, I'm
money. I'm
sure,
telling
just
you.
rolling in it. But joking aside, you are a beloved faculty member here and have been for many years. And quite honestly, unprompted, there have been so many previous podcast guests, alumni who's mentioned you specifically as someone who influenced them in so many different ways while they were at WashU and led them to really find their own artistic and aesthetic selves in a very profound way. So I just want to say thank you for doing this, but also more importantly, thank you for the last 35 years of teaching in our department.
Thank you, Rob. That is more than anything, that touches me so deeply that people feel that their time working with me or collaborating with me in the classroom or in a production was meaningful, and had a positive impact. That's everything. That's really, at the end of the day, that's all we have, is how we've impacted other people. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, as my old Texas history government teacher used to say the proof of the pudding is in the eating,
Mhm.
and the proof of the pudding of your time at WashU is definitely in the fact that we have alums who, not only in an academic way, but in a highly sort of personal and sort of professional growth way, credit you for teaching them. So whew, I'll try not to get verklempt. We have two Italians on the podcast today, so both of us will try not to get too verklempt as we go forward. But Anna, thanks so much for doing this. I'm going to do my best to. I don't think I can use expletives. I think this is an expletive-free podcast, if I'm not mistaken. But
Okay.
no, I'm gonna try to do my damnedest to really honor you in this way. And I know there's going to be many alums listening to this who think back on their time at WashU very fondly because of you. Anyway, all right, let's start from the beginning. There was the Big Bang.
And yes.
uh, we like to kind of start in a chronological way. And usually I ask a student or an alum, should I say, how did you find WashU? But I would love to know kind of a little bit of, go back even further, your backstory. Where did you grow up? When did you maybe find yourself interested in theater at all?
Mhm. Well, I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and I have always been drawn to performing, theater, storytelling. I was a ham when I was a kid, and I can remember my mom saved everything from when we were kids, and there was this report card from my kindergarten. And one of the comments that the teacher made was, she really likes to be in control, and she likes to tell other people, of the other children, what to do. So I kind of was, born to perform, to be in control, to direct, to teach, if you will, to be at the head of the damn class. So that impulse was always in me,
I
right?
love it.
And I always had, I just wanted to share my ideas with people because I knew they were best,
Whether they
even as
wanted
a
those
5 year
ideas or
old.
not, right? Just yes, she likes to be in control. That's my favorite. I've
So
certainly
there was
witnessed that.
that impulse. There was
Yeah.
that impulse. And my mom, when I was like about 6, I think I was 5 or 6, she was part of a musical review that she did with the ladies auxiliary. My dad was a physician and she was on the ladies auxiliary that was connected to the ladies medical auxiliary. And they were doing this performance and she took me with her. And the director saw me and he's like, well, would you like to be in the show? And man, I was all over that. So I got picked and I was in this little musical review, and it was The Sound of Music had just come out. And so it was a little takeoff on that. And I was one of the children in that. And I loved it. I loved it. It was my first time ever on stage. And I knew that the stage was a special place. And
Uh,
so from
and
that, I
how old were you
just
at that point? When
like
did you?
5 or 6. I was
Wow.
little. Yeah.
Wow.
And so it was kind of just always a given for me in my life that I was going to be somehow connected to performance, to the theater. I also am a singer. And when I was 9, my mother, a lot of this, you'll hear me talk about my mom a lot. She's really the one who was my biggest influence in this area of my life in terms of the arts. She was on our church choir. And so at 9, I joined the church choir. And I sang on the church choir with my mom for years until I went away to school. And it taught me, the woman who directed the choir was really, really good. And there was an expertness and a professionalism around the musicianship and the performance. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about professionalism in one's artistry at a very
Mm.
young age.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
So, and then I studied voice went to a German leader teacher who taught at the Conservatory of Music, actually,
Oh,
at 13. And I played guitar and I composed my own music.
wow.
And so I auditioned for her on
Yeah.
the guitar, playing one of my own songs. And she took me as a student and I studied with her until I went to college. And she actually wanted me to go into singing and study music, but theater was the thing I really wanted to do. So
Yeah.
I went to a small Catholic liberal arts college in Kansas City,
Uh-huh.
and got my degree in speech and theater
Got it.
education.
And then
And then and
Brandeis
then,
was
and
that?
then, well, I taught for a few years. I
Got
taught
it.
high school, which was the hardest gig I've ever had, teaching
Really?
high school. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's exhausting, it's demanding, and it was wonderful because I
Mm.
learned so much. I learned so much of what I didn't know, right?
Yeah.
I learned about how to motivate young people and how to meet people where they are in their own lives. And we did some really cool theater at
Wow.
this Catholic high school that I taught at in Kansas City. It was an urban school, and there
Sure.
were a lot of people of color in that
Oh,
school.
right.
And it was a world that I had never experienced, right? I had been quite sheltered in my own life. So
I see.
it was a great experience. So I did that, and then I quit teaching and I did some professional acting. I worked for a children's theater company and then went back to teaching and then auditioned for grad school and went to Brandeis,
Wow. Wow.
and got my MFA in acting from them.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow. So you got your first kind of you cut your teeth teaching at a high school level, and then post graduate school, you didn't get a graduate degree necessarily in education. What happened after Brandeis for you?
Well, I realized when I was in graduate school, because it was pre-professional and they expected everybody to just go into professional careers in acting.
Sure. Sure.
And in those 2 years that I was there, I really homed in on what I wanted to do, which was teach at the university level. And so towards the end of my MFA training, I didn't even do the showcase, where you go to
Wow.
New York, and because I knew I wanted to teach. So,
Wow.
and they weren't happy about it because they invested in me and they wanted me to go
Yeah.
be an actor. But I didn't want that. I really wanted to be on the college level. I didn't want to go back to high school teaching.
Right.
So I knew I wanted to teach college students. And I sent out 50 letters of inquiry for jobs, job openings. I got one response.
Really.
And that was from Lehigh University. A wonderful man named Gus Ripa was the chair at in the drama department at Lehigh.
Hmm.
And I was in Boston at the time because I was at Brandeis
Yeah.
in Waltham, and his wife was from the Northeast. And
Hmm.
so he was going to be in the Boston area over Easter. So it wasn't
Oh,
going to cost him anything to come and watch me. I was teaching a class
I see.
at an undergraduate class
Got it.
at Brandeis, and that happened because I went to the chair of our department at Brandeis and I said, have graduate students ever taught a class?
Yeah.
And he goes, no.
Huh.
And I said, can I? He goes, well, we can put something on the books. If anybody signs up, you can teach it. And I had like 4 students and it went,
Wow.
it made. And so I was teaching this class, this acting class. Gus came to Easter with his wife and his
Yeah.
family. He
Sure.
came and watched my class and he liked what he saw enough that he invited me down to Lehigh for an interview and I got the job. It was a 2-year assistant professorship, visiting assistant professorship.
Nice.
And that got my foot in the door of that
Amazing.
system of, teaching on that level. So after that, I got then a job at St. Lawrence University in upstate New York
Uh-huh.
and was there for a year. And then a flyer came in the mail uh,
A flyer.
at St. Lawrence, and they were looking for a movement teacher at Washington University. And I was wanting to get back to the Midwest.
Oh, of
And
course.
and I also wanted to be in a bigger city
Yeah.
than, Canton, New York, which is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I applied and interviewed and got it. So I've
Right.
been really lucky, really,
Right.
really lucky.
Well, shout out for a
And
second. Yeah. I was gonna say shout out to all of our listeners in Canton, New York, by the way. I was kidding. We
yeah,
don't.
all the
I'm
the
fairly
tens of
I'm
20s
fairly
that
certain we have zero listeners in Canton, New York. But you glossed over something I want to make sure I kind of underline or at least kind of probe a little further. And that is, and this happened to me as well. So I really can kind of empathize. Some years ago after undergrad, but before I ever went to graduate school, I applied to Yale. But because I had no experience designing, I applied with in a sort of a technical direction, technical production kind of, a TD type of role at the Yale, which is still a fine program at Yale, MFA, I believe. And I remember my interview, and he asked me the classic, "Where do you want to be in 5 years?" question, right? And I answered it wrong. I'm pretty sure I answered it wrong. I said I would love to teach as well as design. I think I could make, and I was thinking of my own teachers who did that type of thing. And miraculously, they accepted me to Yale, and I knew it wasn't for me, so I turned it down. But I think it's important for people, particularly young people, to realize that the MFA program, or your MA program or MFA program, was it at
MFA,
Brandeis?
yeah. MFA.
MFA at Brandeis, that you were not doing the path that they wanted you to, but you can't live by another person's dreams. It's your
Yeah.
dream to do what you want.
Yeah.
Do you want to pull? I mean, am I hitting?
Sure. I
Yeah,
mean, I've kind of always had that mindset, and I credit my parents for that, right?
sure.
They raised all of us, my brothers and me all, uh, to follow our interest and follow our gifts and do what we wanted to do. They wanted us to be secure and safe, and but they wanted us to be happy.
Mm,
And I mean, my dad was as far away from the arts as you could be. He was a physician and he was a scientist, right?
mm,
He didn't understand the theater, but he knew I loved it, and they both wanted me to get a teaching degree because
mm,
they're like, then you will have a way to live. You can do what you love, but you'll also be able to get a job. They were worried
mm,
about that. Luckily, I really loved teaching, and
yeah,
that worked out for me. But, they were so supportive, and
mm,
that gave me the freedom to really discern. Right. As
yeah,
I was moving through my education, I was able to go, well, what do I really want? And what am I going to be happy doing? Will I be happy living the life of an actor? and
Right.
not knowing where my next job is. And I'm not the kind of person who thrives in that lack of structure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I loved being in the classroom and kind of shepherding people along.
Yeah.
So it
Exactly.
it worked out.
Yeah. I mean, would you say that? Well, I have two things to ask you. So I just want to point out that a less strong-willed Anna Pileggi at that stage of your life may have caved to the pressure and maybe gone into acting, even though what you truly wanted to do was teach.
Right. And
Um,
I wouldn't have been happy. And I think
right.
that way would have been not healthy for me, not happy for me. I don't think I would have enjoyed that life,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's something to be said for, and I encourage my students all the time to follow your impulses.
Hmm.
Listen to that voice inside your head because there's going to come a time when you're going to wake up and you're going to be 40 and there you will be.
Yeah.
So, and trust that you will be able to make your way. That
Sure.
if you want to go and try this thing called acting,
Yeah.
go. It doesn't mean you have to do it for the rest of your life, but
Right.
it will doing that will lead you to the next thing,
Right.
whatever that ends up being, right?
Got it. I also want to kind of tease out a little bit that would you think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I might be totally off here, but would you think that teaching is a form of performing?
Oh my gosh,
That
yes.
I mean, in what way do you think your background in acting has made you a better teacher? Is that a fair question?
Sure. I'm very, what is most important to me is making a connection,
Hmm.
whether it's in my private life, within my marriage, with my family, with my friends, with students in a classroom, with actors in a rehearsal hall. I want to connect. I want to have a meaningful connection with people. And to me, teaching is very dialogical. It's collaborative, right? Because I know certain things. My students know certain things that I could never know
Hmm.
about themselves, about their experience, about what's brought them into this class. And so I want to enter into a meaningful connection with them. And I want us together in the space between us to move through a journey.
Yeah.
That is what performance is to me. That's what acting is. And so it's not about me, entertaining the troops. It's not
Yeah.
about me being at the front of the classroom doing goofy stuff. Sometimes I do, but it's more about trying to connect with people through a point of interest. How
Yes.
do I get people to invest and care
Yeah.
about what we have decided to embark on in this class or with this play or, whatever it is? So, in that sense, yes, it is performative. And in order for me to be effective, I have to be present to them.
Hmm.
I tell my students, I say, you know what? I can guarantee you that there are going to be days when I do not want to be here with you teaching this class. I said, but guess what? You'll never know when those days are because I'm going to put it aside
Yep.
because I have a job to do.
Yes.
And I want to be present to you. And I
Hmm.
want to be available to you. And I want to do everything I can to help you learn
Yeah.
and to bring you through a positive journey in this course.
Yeah.
So that is a discipline. That is an act of will. That is me, coming to the class or the rehearsal every single day saying, okay, I am here for you. I am here and I have this job called teacher or director or whatever that is. But at the end of the day, we need to enter into a collaborative state and move together through this journey. And
Yeah.
that's what actors do. And
Right.
that's what directors do with actors, right? So I think that's what teachers should do with their students. So
Got
in
it.
that way, yes, it is performative.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a partner, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I see it is we, as a teacher myself as well, that we are a partner in the creation, much like I've had students, design students, student designers who think that it's the director's job to come in and give ingredients to a recipe and say, well, maybe we should explore platforms and levels, and maybe the set should be yellow and this and that. And then the student designer goes back and makes that recipe and it tastes awful. Like it's just a terrible looking, and they don't see themselves as a collaborator. But in your venue that is the teaching space, the classroom, we are partners in the creation of the development of an individual. Would you agree?
Yeah. And I would say the further development of myself.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I believe, I've been paid for the last 35 years to continue to learn and grow myself.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't, it's not about what I know, because I never feel I know
Hmm.
until I get in the room and we work together. It's through our questions that
Ah,
that we are led. And I
nice.
tell that to students all the time. It's like you don't once you know the play, you kill it.
Yeah,
So let's just continue to discover the play
I love
as
that.
we move. And I stole that from Grotowski. He goes, once you know the song, you've killed it. You have to keep discovering the song every time you sing it.
I love it. I love it. In design, I'm always telling students you have to find a way into the play. They're like, I don't like this play. I'm like, but you got to find a way in. Like, there's
Right.
got to be something that resonates for you. Otherwise, that's what are
Yeah.
we doing, really?
And that should be happening for the actor or the
Yeah.
director every single time they engage with the play. So
Yeah.
that means every single rehearsal.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't be putting up what you already know. You have to be questioning what you don't know. And that's what leads you to get on your feet and start to embody the play.
Wow. Yeah. This is fantastic. Pearls of wisdom from Anna Pileggi. It really is. I mean, it's the kind of thing that's teaching me how to teach as well, just talking to you. I tell my own students that the wrong answer is the right answer to a different question. So there are no wrong
Absolutely.
answers. So
That's exactly right.
now I'm looking over your CV, said the nerd. I'm
Nice.
looking over this year, and so you began at Wash U. I'm going back to your flyer that you got, and then you applied for the
Yes.
job at Wash U. It says you were an artist in residence in drama when you
Uh-huh.
first began here. What was that position like? Was it full time? Was it,
Yeah.
you know,
So it was interesting because being on the tenure track was never my goal. My goal, I mean, it would have been nice, but
sure.
my goal was to find an artistic and education home. I
Mm,
wanted to find a place where I could go and build a career. Okay. So I was looking for cities, and St. Louis is a lovely city, right? And it's got stuff going on, and you can actually afford to live here. It
mhm,
was close to my family home in Kansas City. And so my first question when I was interviewed is, okay, this is for an artist in residence. Can I stay long term? And they said, yes. So I said, so this will be a full-time position, and I can teach and direct, and I can also work in the community, and I can stay here as long as I want, as long as I don't mess it up. And they said, yes. And so I took the job when it was
yeah.
offered to me, right?
Hmm,
Now, this term, artist in residence, was just a term that the university at that time used for people that were in the arts that weren't eligible for tenure
mhm.
or for
Got it.
tenure track positions.
Sure.
And for me, it was like I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, sure, as long as I can stay, you're going to pay me to teach theater, acting, and direct. I was like, I'm in. And I don't know how many different titles I've had over the years. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
the title really, it doesn't matter.
I agree.
It's being able to be in a place where you can do your work. And that WashU has been that place for me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm grateful, very grateful to have
Nice.
had the career I've had here.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I didn't bring it up in the sense that I thought it was an important title. I just was curious what that meant.
No, but it's
Um,
it's changed. I mean,
yeah,
I was artist in residence, then I was
sure,
senior artist in residence, then I was
sure.
senior lecturer, then I was professor of the practice, which is what I am now,
Yes, yes. Right, right,
Uh,
right. And
but
you were,
it didn't change what I did. I came and I taught classes and I directed and I worked with students.
sure. Yeah. The pudding in that case was, you're like, yeah, I like this. I want this to
Yeah.
be my life.
Yeah. Call
Um,
me what you want.
right, exactly. Just don't call me late for dinner. So at that point, because you can predict the future. Did you say I want to be in residence for 35 years?
I knew that I wanted to be somewhere where I could continue to grow and develop,
Yes.
and I could make a life for myself.
Yes.
And I didn't think, I was 30.
No, I,
So who the hell knows at 30 how
y-
long they're going to stay anywhere. But
yes.
I thought I would stay until I didn't want to stay anymore.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that day never came.
I
Because
mean,
as
that's,
you know,
yeah, in a sort of joking way, but also, again, credit to the length of time you've been at WashU. You have made yourself, I think, and this is what I tell students to do as well, you've made yourself indispensable, that you are the kind of faculty member whose absence, and sadly we're going to learn this very soon with your retirement next year, that we're going to have to figure out how to do what we do without you. And that's sad for me as a colleague, but also I think it's a bit of an end of an era. So I don't want to get to the end of the podcast too soon. But do you know what I mean? Like 35 years, the enormous impact is incalculable. But I mean, I just feel like, I mean, an artist in residence for 35 years is something to say for your capacity, for your longevity, for your value to this department for so long.
wow,
Um,
thank you. I mean, I'm going to leave this on cloud nine with all this. This is lovely. I appreciate that. No, I really do appreciate that.
Well, yes. And remember, I'm not an actor. I can't, I mean, I'm not acting. I'm terrible at acting. And so, again, you got here as an artist in residence. Can I say the year?
Sure.
1991. And so you've been here ever since. Can you encapsulate at all what this time has been for you? That the number of classes you've taught robots, you've directed robots on stage, you've taught a very popular class called Theater for Social Change. You have expanded and broadened the repertoire of gifts that our students are able to receive from you through different types of teaching and teaching different things. I don't even know what I'm asking, but I'm just like, what are there any highlights? That's a cheap word, but do you know what I mean? Like, what do you remember about this time, if it's possible to even mention one?
What I remember when I think about my time at WashU, I think about the people. I think about my incredible colleagues. I think about my students over the years, starting in 1991, some of whom I'm still in touch with. I think about the laughter, so much joy, so much just good times. I think
Mhm.
about London and all the trips that I made there with students. My beloved colleagues, Henry Chevet, who was such a mentor and such a dear man, and I got to direct more than one of his plays. Just the collaborations, Andrea Rice, Bill Whitaker, Jeffrey Matthews, what dear, trusted, beloved colleagues they are.
Mhm.
And how we were this cohort, we were the acting directing faculty for all those many years. That's what I think about because as I said earlier, it's about those connections. It's about those relationships, right?
Yeah.
And that connects you. All those students that I was able to encounter and collaborate with, they're all over the world.
Yeah.
And if they were touched by something we did together, they're carrying that on. I mean,
Yes.
it blows my mind. That gets me verklempt. That gets me emotional because it connects me in such a visceral way beyond what I could ever do myself,
Sure.
right? It's those connections that continue to flourish. Those
Yeah.
kids are married, they have kids, they have wonderful careers, they have rich, full communities that they're part of now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love to think that something that I was able to do in a classroom with them has served them and has
Yeah.
helped them make those connections themselves in their lives.
Ah, I love it. That's beautiful. You've been at WashU so long. I happen to notice that in almost a bookending of your career here, you directed Aunt Dan and Lemon in 1989,
At
and
Lehigh.
at Lehigh, and then again oh, that's right, that wasn't even at Wash U. So at Lehigh, you directed Aunt Dan and Lemon, and then I designed that for you in the spring of 2018 at Wash U.
Yep.
That you've also done multiple shows twice. Company, you've done a few times.
Yep.
There's probably many others. Bad Blood, although those were sequential, I think. Hedda
Yeah.
Gobbler, have you done that more than once?
That was no, I did it once and I did it
Gotcha.
badly. That was my first
Did it
show at
badly.
Wash U. Oh, I did it so badly. And I learned,
Sure, sure,
so much about how I work.
sure.
I got paid to learn.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing.
Yeah. That brings to mind the next question I have for you, and that is, do you have a favorite show? Is there a favorite, um,
Ooh,
either for whom was in it? Is that a word? For whom was in it? Or like for the play itself, or both? Like, I like to think of sometimes a show for me, kind of what I say likes to say is sort of hits on all cylinders.
yeah.
Like, are there shows that for you hit on all cylinders, that it was a kind of like, wow, this is bigger than us. Kind of, this is magic.
I think there were several, and I couldn't name them all. I think Pillow Man was a
Hmm.
special show because I honestly didn't know what that play was about when I decided to do it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't think I could do it. That's a
Hmm.
lot. That's kind of a recurring theme for me. I like the Wolves. I didn't know what the hell that play was about. And I was
You
like,
can
oh my
swear
God.
if you
No,
wish.
I would have, but God knows I do. But I didn't think I could direct that show.
Ah,
And so then I knew I had to do it
wow.
because it was like, God, I don't know that I can pull this off. And then you walk into the rehearsal hall needing those other people,
Yes.
right? Because you're vulnerable.
Right.
So, but Pillow Man was that for me, and The Wolves was that for me. Cabaret was a show that was so powerful and scary
Hmm.
because of its subject matter. And I
Yeah.
had an amazing group of actors in that
Yeah.
show. It was such a gift to work
Yeah.
on that. Legally Blonde was
Mm.
so fucking big. It was a huge show.
Yes.
And Christine O'Neill and I are like every other page is another big dance number.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I wasn't
Yes.
sure we could pull it off.
Yeah.
Into the Woods was that's one of my all-time favorite musicals, and
Mm.
we worked on that together, right?
We
You
did.
and I.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to have the privilege of being able to collaborate with you and the other designers and wonderful actors, singers on that
Hmm.
with Sondheim's
Yeah.
incredible artistry. I mean, he's just brilliant.
Yeah.
So, it's just so many, and it's such a
Yeah.
privilege to have been able to do these shows,
Yeah.
you know?
Once again, you mentioned something important. I want to make sure I don't skip over, and that is that you said you didn't know what it was, and therefore you had to do it. Does that
Right.
did I? And I find that so fascinating that the best artists I know of put impediments or challenges in front of them so that they can overcome them. That
Mm,
there's. I talked to a playwright once. And I'm like, why did you make this like before electricity? And why is there only a single light bulb on stage? And he goes, because I thought that'd be a challenge, and I'd
yeah.
have to write not around that, but I'd have to learn as I wrote how to write that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and for me, it's not so much that I'm creating the impediment, but I'm acknowledging that this is going to be challenging
Yeah.
and it's going to be a risk. And I think when I acknowledge that, when I find material that is that for me, then I'm allowing myself or forcing myself to move into a creative state because I
Yes.
know that I'm doing something that is new, that is not a rehash of something I've already done.
Yeah.
Because, and Anne Bogart talks about this, she talks about facing your terror. Well, that's what it is when you're deciding to do a project in order to move into creative space, you have to face the unknown.
Yeah.
And the unknown is terrifying. But you cannot be creative unless you move into the unknown. Because if it's something you're comfortable with and it's familiar, you've probably already done it.
Yeah. It'll end
Even
up
if it's the same
formulaic.
show, even
Yeah.
if you're doing the same show again, that doesn't mean that you're not being creative. It means there was something about that last production of it. I didn't really understand this, or I didn't I didn't discover this or I didn't master that. So you're still, I need to do that play again because I want to move into those areas that I wasn't able to last time I did it. Right?
Ah, yeah, I find that so profound. I'm gonna slaughter it, but I'm gonna paraphrase. David Bowie said once about how being creative was about when you're on the shoreline of a body of water and you step out into the water, and there's that one moment where you just leave your feet. Your feet are just off of the sand. You can't feel the sand underneath your feet anymore. He said that's creatively, that's where you always want to be because then you're going to make something really interesting.
Yep.
And I find that so interesting that you said that because I think that's so true. And yet the more we desire certainty in our choices, we all students just think that if I just follow these steps and go that direction, I'll end up being what I want to be. That there's got to be some level of fear of failure, some level of creative confidence. I don't know what it is. But it's so profound and so important that students hear that. So thank you for highlighting that for me. So we've gone through favorite shows. You've also been directing professionally,
Yes.
and I wonder if you could speak a little bit to that about having, I guess, another volume of space to work in that is not the academic space.
Oh, I think it's so important because it challenges me in different ways, being with professional actors and being outside of the safe space, I guess, of the
Yeah.
academy, right? And not being director teacher, right? I mean, I'm kind of putting myself out there in a different way and working under different conditions, right?
Hmm.
Under different circumstances. And that helps me continue to hone my own craft. And not that I'm not doing that when I'm teaching students,
No, but yeah.
but being in that professional arena, it's just a different perspective. It's a different focus, right? And it's a way for me to continue to develop my own craft.
Yeah, yeah. There would be
And that's
people.
always been important to me.
Absolutely. I think there might be people at our own university would disagree, but I think that's a matter of, or a form of publishing.
Hmm.
That you are publishing work to the
Hmm.
world. In this case, you're breathing life into a written work and putting it on stage and showing that to people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
seeing how you did. I guess not that
Mhm.
anyone has the answer of how good or bad a play is or how
Yeah.
a production might be. But I found that really again admirable of you that for as long as you've been at WashU that you've never rested on your laurels and said I don't think I need to direct professionally anymore. I can just stick with teaching and but you've always as you've just said, want to get better at what you do and teach yourself what you don't know.
Yeah, and I love doing it.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a selfish need in there for me, right?
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
love being in the rehearsal hall and I love telling stories in this
right, right,
way. And
right.
so it's just kind of and another thing, and I don't know if you relate to this, but as an artist, I don't like to say no. If there's an opportunity out there, I'm going to say, yes, I can do that. And so
Yes,
it's kept me busy.
there's always that fear. If you say no, they'll never ask
They'll
again.
never come back.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. Maybe that's
Yeah.
I have some dating issues. I'm not sure, Mac. So I want to also to have you talk about, for those alums that maybe have not been your student for a while, as I said, you've just like you do on stage, you've continued to iterate what you teach. A Theater for Social Change is a class that comes up at least first and foremost in my mind. But can you talk about I guess, how you've modeled and shaped new courses that you think are important to tell, stories to tell?
I guess it's just my curiosity, right? And also when that course was suggested to me, I was like, I don't know if I can do that. That's always where it comes down to for me.
Sure.
It's like, wow, what is that about? And I told Rob Henke was our chair at the time, and I said, Rob, I will I will teach this course, but I need training. I
Yeah.
need to go somewhere and get training in this because I've never trained in this. And to his credit, he said, "You find it, and we will fund that and send you there." So Rob made it possible for me to go to Vancouver for two
Ah,
weeks in the summer and study with a man named David Diamond
okay.
and his theater for living. He had studied with Boal in the '80s, Augusto Boal,
Yeah.
who is the founder of Theater of the Oppressed. And David Diamond went back to Canada and evolved the work into what he calls theater for living. And I studied with him in Vancouver and then brought back, my understanding of what I'd read about Bilal, what I studied with David Diamond, and then came back to St. Louis and said, okay, now let me see how I can apply what I've learned in collaboration with students. And so that was in 2012. And
Hmm.
I taught, or 2011, I guess, I taught the course and then taught it again. And then students were like, gosh, we would like to be able to learn how to facilitate the work. So I said, huh. So I went to Rob and I said, what do you think about an advanced class
Uh-huh.
where I teach them to be facilitators and then we could actually place them in high schools for
Hmm.
6-week workshops and they could teach their own theater for social change workshop in the high school. And so that course began. And
Wow.
so things just evolve, right? And I
Hmm.
think, I tell my students all the time, follow your interest.
Hmm.
David Mamet famously said, actors don't need to learn how to focus. You don't have to do focus exercises. You just need to cultivate what interests you.
Hmm.
Because when you're interested, you're focused, right?
True. Yeah.
And
Huh.
so that's kind of how new courses evolved for
Hmm.
me. It was trying to fill a need, but then also finding that point of interest and then following it. And
Yeah.
and then letting the students give me feedback about what's working, what's not working, and then another course comes into being. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just kind of an organic journey.
Wow. Wow. And again, testament to the fact that your influence has been exponential, that, you have ducklings for whom you were the mother duck, who are doing the work and exponentially taking that work to other communities, to other places, and having an impact. It's a butterfly effect that you've created that I think is quite profound and quite beautiful.
Well, I'm lucky. I really am lucky to have had the opportunities that I've been
Uh,
afforded, truly.
Uh, well, we've been lucky to have you at Wash U for so long, and
Thanks.
I got here in 2011 when I guess you just started that class when I got
Right,
here, and that's
right.
I just kind of I guess I'm speechless, which is difficult for an Italian to be speechless. I also I guess I want to tease out a little bit of the fact that you are an empathetic soul, and I believe that. Here's my theory again. I'm going to throw a theory at you again and say,
Cool.
and you can say you're full of shit, Rob, or whatever. But I had a meeting with a colleague once I was doing a show with. We were in Cleveland, I think, and we had breakfast, and she was considering writing a book. And like me, when I first started writing a book, I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Like, does anyone want to know what I have to say?
Yeah.
And I talked to her about, and I still believe this to my core, that people with your background in acting and directing are when we talk about empathy and the value of empathy and the power of empathy, that there is no more empathetic a profession, I don't think, than acting. That you have to sort of become someone else, and how do you do that in an effective way, in a way
Mm.
that is believable to an audience? Is I think it's profound empathy. Would you agree or disagree?
I totally agree. I
Okay,
totally agree. And I would say I have a little bit different take on it. I
sure.
think that rather than being about becoming someone else, I think it's about accessing a part of yourself to enter into that fiction,
Uh,
right? So that it's always you. It's always you. And the idea of escaping your life or escaping yourself, I always found antithetical to good acting. I think it's accessing the multifaceted reality of your own humanity, right?
Mm,
That there
yes.
is unfortunately, there is the potential for a Lady Macbeth in me, just like there is the potential for an Anne Frank in me,
Right.
or, fill in the blank.
Sure.
And that it's when I immerse myself in the text that I find myself in the fiction
Mm,
and then am able to expand myself
mm,
to create the illusion of character. That's another mammoth thing. You get on stage and you speak the truth. The playwright's words create the illusion of character. It's an illusion. It's always me. It's why people would see my Ophelia versus Meryl Streep's, right? I
sure.
mean,
Sure.
because we're two different human beings.
Right.
And so it's rather than an abandoning of self, it's really an embrace of self. And this is what I hope for my students, because very few of my students go on to professional careers as actors. But they can gain so much, and I think empathy is it. Empathy within themselves for themselves and those unaccessed parts of themselves as well as for other, and to let go of judgment and let go of all the pressures, and I'm sure you see this as much as I do, how that has increased on our students over the
Absolutely.
decades. There's so much pressure, and for the hour and 20 minutes twice a week that they're in an acting class, to be able to really explore the hopefulness of play
Yeah. Yeah.
and imagining, and being in a creative space in collaboration with other people, because that can be taken to the boardroom and to the hospital examining room and to the courtroom and wherever these students find themselves. If they become professional actors, great. If they become lawyers and doctors and business people, a little empathy in those rooms is not going to hurt.
Not only is it going to hurt, it's going to be an asset every time.
Absolutely. We
Every
need
time.
it. We need this. We need people to be able to imagine and
Yes.
to dream and to empathize with other people. We
Absolutely.
need this now more than ever.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I was going to snap, but that's bad for podcasts. I agree. I mean, most of our students, I wouldn't say most, but a significant portion of our students are pre-med, and any doctor has to have some level of empathy and bedside manner and the ability to pick up on clues, intuit things.
And
Um,
just to
yes,
care about the person that they're serving,
absolutely.
that they are ministering to.
Right. It's not a dalliance in any way to sort of spend time in our department, and you have. This is where I go back to the fact that your butterfly effect has impacted so many students over 35 years. I can't even count. We are a data-driven university, as you know, and I still can't possibly come up with the number of students that you have profoundly inspired and mentored and been an inspiration for. I had said inspired already. I'm bad at words, Anna.
Right.
I have to say, I mean, personally as well, your laugh is infectious, and somehow, I'm not exactly sure how, I haven't studied the physics of it, can penetrate through plaster. I'm quite certain that it can. I can hear you in different rooms that are down the hallway from where you're laughing. It's incredible. But I just, I mean that in I'm going to miss that laugh. I'm going to miss you as a colleague. I'm sure there are multitudes of students that are going to miss having you as a teacher, as someone that they can see in the hallways here, watch you. But thank you for everything you've been for students, everything you've been for colleagues. You've taught me more than I can say, really. So yeah, I feel like this is, for me, a little bittersweet. Like I said, I think at the beginning, I want to make sure that the many, many students that I'm sure will listen to this, former students, current students, are going to walk away with some sense of their appreciation for you, for Annamaria Pileggi.
Thank you so, so much. You don't know what a gift that is
Uh,
for you to share that with me. Honestly, it
uh,
means the world to me. Thank you.
I told you I'm a terrible actor, so I'm not lying.
Thank you. Thank you.
My many, many thanks to Annamaria Pileggi for her time that she spent with me on the podcast. Tune in next month for a podcast with a very special guest, Jeffrey Matthews. Jeffrey Matthews will be the guest on next month's PAD podcast. Do not miss that. Thank you so much.